Hi, in this video I'd like to cover some of the VM basics. So I'm going to start by launching my vSphere client. Because I just installed it, it is on my desktop. But otherwise I could just click on my start button and just type in VM and VMware should pop up. So I'm just going to launch VMware. And the first thing I need to do is sign in. So I'm going to type in FVTC \. You always need to prefix it with an FVTC \. You could use your student ID at fetc.edu as well. But I'm going to go with FETC \ and type in my student ID. I'm going to use the same password I used to log into Blackboard. I'm going to ignore any certificate warnings. So if you start at the home screen, you can just click on the VMs and templates. And then I'm just going to expand these down. And I see my virtual machines. So if you have multiple classes, there'll be different folders. So what I want to do is I just want to show how I use VMware. The vSphere client is written by VMware. And like for example, if I wanted to open up my Server 2003, there is a console window here, which you could click on and you could see the window. I don't prefer to use that. When I like to look at my virtual machine, I right click on the virtual machine and I go to Open Console. Otherwise, there is a button here which is the same thing, which will pop open a new window. I like this because I can have multiple machines open at the same time, and I can work between them. So this is going to be something that we'll do quite often in this class. So this is the way I prefer doing it. The other thing I prefer is I prefer to open the console first and then power it on. The reason for that is with some machines we're going to have bootloaders which are going to load up multiple operating systems, and if we start the machine and then open the console, by the time we see it, it has already chosen the operating system for us instead of having us get that menu where we can select it. So the other thing that I like is, especially when I work at home, sometimes I get disconnection, reconnection. Sometimes things kind of go weird where this window will all of a sudden pop on top of this other window. What I do is I like to look at it in full screen. So if I go to my view menu and then it's enter full screen by pressing Control Alt Enter. Okay, so we have to remember the Control Alt Enter. But if I do this, it'll open full screen for me. The thing that's nice with this is that if it connects and disconnects, it's not that annoying. I can continue working on my machine. So if I were going to log into, in this case, the Server 2003, it tells me to press Control Alt Delete. Well, on the virtual machine, I can't really send a Control Alt Delete because my host operating system will respond to that Control Alt Delete. So for the virtual machine, I need to do a Control Alt and an insert, and that is the same thing as a Control Alt Delete. So to get out of full screen, we can do that Control Alt Enter, all right, which is different than the insert. And that'll break me out of the full screen mode. So if you do a Control Alt Enter, that'll take you into full screen mode or pop you out of full screen mode. Otherwise, there's this little button here that you can press, and that'll get you back in. So one thing that's a little bit annoying is I've got this window here. If I am outside the window and my cursor's over here and I start typing, even though I see my insertion point blinking right there, if I'm not in the window and I try typing, it's not going to work. I need to actually make sure that this has got the focus and my cursor's inside of here. That's one thing that we need to be careful of. So the other thing is that we may need to connect to CDs, DVDs. We need software. There's this little CD drive here. We can click on that. And right now I'm currently connected up to a CD or a DVD, so I'm just going to disconnect. And then I'm going to wait a couple seconds and try it again. And now I can attach to a CD or DVD. So you could, if you wanted to, download like a DVD from the internet and install it over the internet. I strongly do not recommend that. I recommend strongly against that. It takes a lot of time to stream all that data from your computer over the internet to the servers here at the college. So what I do really strongly recommend is you use the ISO images on the data store. So in this case, I'm just going to click on that, and I can browse the DVDs that I've already downloaded for you. An ISO is just an image of a CD or a DVD, and I can hit this up arrow and I can navigate. Now if you got lost, if somehow you're at a different screen, if you hit this up arrow like too many times and all of a sudden I'm going to click on it until I can't click on it any further. So at the root of the virtual server, the virtual machine server where all of the virtual machines are held, there is something. It's called a data store. It's kind of like a hard drive. It's called T_ISO_image. If I go inside here, I'm going to see a whole bunch of different folders. There is one in here called ethical hacking. That's our folder for our class. So I'm just going to go down one screen, and I do see the ethical hacking folder. And what I've done is I've broken these DVDs and CDs into different folders. Tools is going to be something that we're going to use often. Also Linux. And I've just got different categories. So if I select one of these disks, it gives me the ability to, like for example, I've got a tools CD that I burned, and if I put that in, if I do a Control-Alt insert, I'm just going to log in to this specific machine. At this point, if I go to my computer, I do have a DVD that I inserted in called Tools. So if we needed to get to the software, we could do that. Sometimes you'll have a window where you cannot click anything outside of the window. Now, this machine happens to have the tools installed on it, so it's not a problem. But sometimes you'll have focus inside the machine, and for whatever reason, you cannot get that cursor to break out of the machine to get to the host machine. So you'll like take your mouse and you'll hit it, and it's kind of like you're hitting a wall and you can't get outside of it. In that case, the way that you break out of the virtual machine is by pressing the Control and the Alt key at the same time. When you do that Control and the Alt key, that'll actually break your cursor out, and then you can do whatever you want. Once you click back in here, now your focus is back in here. And if you want to break out again, you'll have to do Control and Alt at the same time, and then you've got your cursor. Now you can go anywhere you want. So that's pretty much the highlight of what you're going to need to know to at least be able to move forward using virtual machines. So hopefully this quick overview has helped you basically get started on how do you get to your machine and what you can do with your machine. Hopefully you found this video useful.